I want to say thanks everyone for coming out this morning. This is a great event. It's a great topic, great turnout. Thank you so much for being here this morning. My name is Jay Nelson. I'm the Communications Director here at RRAR. We love having people out for these in-person events. Some other things that we have going on coming up. We have a great online event that's taking part next week, next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. We're having a webinar to discuss the recent NAR settlement. So our CEO, Dave Phillips, who's here, and one of our past presidents, John Wood, who's also here this morning. They'll be hosting a webinar and talking about topics about how this affects local realtors. You can even submit questions ahead of time, and they'll answer your questions. You send those questions you have to communication@rrar.com, and our conversation is taking place next Tuesday at 2 p.m. So we'd love to have you out for that while you're here for this important topic. Also, in case you haven't noticed, we put plenty of information out there. 2024 is our centennial year, 100 years of providing service for realtors here in Wake County. You probably saw the great time capsule that we had up there. We had some questions. What is that? It's a time capsule, I promise. And so if you have any kind of ideas about something that we can put in the time capsule, or if you have some great artifacts or something that we can put in there, we'd love to hear from you. Same email address, communication@rra.com. We've also got a little extra bling here that you'll see on my jacket. In celebration of the 100 years, for all members that donate or contribute $100 to both RPAC and the Realtor Giving Network, we're giving those members these pins. So if you think you've already qualified for that, then come talk to me after this is over and we'll see if we can get you a pin. If not, we encourage you to please give your $100 to both the Realtor Giving Network and to RPAC. Also, you may have noticed out front there, we have a couple of tables. One that belongs to us. That's the RRAR You Belong Here. That's part of our campaign. So if you remember that it's your first time in the building, or you haven't been here for a while, and so long you may know who I am, then we encourage you to stop by the You Belong Here table, get some information about other events that we have going on, about our committee service, and a lot of great things that we have taking place here at the association. And then the other table is the NC Turnpike Authority and their NC Quick Pass outreach team. They have a table right out here, and you can learn about using Quick Pass, and you can even get a 35% discount on the Triangle Expressway. So please go talk to them after this is over. All right, also I want to thank the GPIC, that's our Government Policies and Issues Committee, for presenting this seminar. GPIC's had a busy year already, and now I'm here to tell you more about GPIC. It's a member of our RRAR Board of Directors and the 2024 GPIC Chair. Please welcome John McBride.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So excited that we have a room full of members. It is just an awesome experience to see this building come to life. COVID kind of decimated us for a while, so it's nice to get things back into a routine and get people here. As Jay mentioned, I'm John McBride. I'm the chair for the Government Policies and Issues Committees, and honor our vice chair is actually here, Jay Sutton. You can raise your hand and stand up. GPIC is one of the many awesome committees we have here at the association. I would encourage you to look at what are the opportunities to serve here at the association through our committees. GPIC is kind of our legislative arm where we educate and work with our community on legislative priorities. We work on homeownership rights, protecting our industry as well. So GPIC is just one of those vital committees of our association, as all of our committees are. And so I'd encourage you to look into what all the committees we have at the association. I do have a couple of dates I want to mention for some worthwhile events that we have coming up. Got these written down. Bear with me 1 second here. On June 13th, we have our Veterans Homeownership event. We're going to have a panel here for that. August 7th, we're having our Congressional Roundtable here. That it will include Senator Wiley Nickel and Congresswoman Gail Adcock. So you can imagine That's going to be a very informative session, especially coming up on an election cycle that we have this year. November 20th, we have our LPC showcase. Now, LPC, for our Government Policy and Issues Committee, are our local political coordinators. These are our members that work with local elected officials to help work in step with our legislative policies and make sure we're protecting homeownership rights for our clients and also our industry. And then that is it for our events this year. And I will turn it back over to Jay. Thank you very much.
All right. While John's running back to his seat, who's read the Monday Minute so far today? Couple. When you read the Monday Minute from today, you'll notice right there at the top the image from a recent television interview. That's John McBride right there, sharing his insight on the local market. Mark Parker, one of our past presidents, he was part of that. So please read today's Monday Minute and enjoy that interview. All right, before we get to the main event, I want to introduce you to a couple of our staff members that are helping with a lot of the big things that we have going on here at the association. First, I'd like to point out Kevin Scorsone, that's our Government Affairs Director, he's standing there in the back. So Kevin's the liaison for both GPIC and RPAC. And if you are the liaison for those two, like that'll keep you off the street for sure. John already talked to you about some of the events that GPIC has going on. RPAC, they've got their big event coming up this summer. We want you to join us for Trivia Night on June 20th. It's a big fun event. It's a great way to contribute to RPAC and have a little fun here in the building. And, you know, every year that I've been here for it, it's been a lot of fun, and RPAC's been able to get a lot of contributions. So we encourage you to come out. That's June 20th. And also legislative days are coming up. That's June 3rd through 5th, and on the 5th, we'll all be out there. John, Kevin, myself will be down at the state capitol talking with local politicians about the issues that are important to realtors. So we encourage you to take part in that also. And I'm sure a lot of you were looking at Kevin thinking, I know this guy. Where do I know him from? Is that the guy from all the videos? Yes. Yes, Kevin is the guy from all the videos. When he joined us last year, he launched the legislative interview series, which is on our YouTube page. And I'm gonna guess that a lot of you already seen it because it's gotten a lot of hits. It's only gotten stronger as it's gone on. The last two that he did that discussed the NAR settlement, those are the top 2 videos we've produced ever. So that's Kevin's work. Thanks to Kevin. If you have any questions about our government affairs, please come talk to him after this is over. And finally, Brylan Kaloji, standing here in the back. Brylan's our manager of business relationships. Now, what does that title mean? That's 2 concentrations. That's affiliates and that's sponsorships. Before Brylan was here, when she joined us a couple years ago, our affiliates were just kind of like that kitchen drawer of menus that sits around your house since like 2007, you haven't really done anything with. Brylan walked in the door and really helped us boost both sponsorships for events and our affiliate program. So if you have any questions about sponsoring events, if you're an affiliate, if you know someone who could be a good fit for our affiliate program, please come talk to Brylan. Thank you, Brylan. All right. No, that's not good. That's very clapping. All right, let's get on to the main event. Dennis Jernigan. Dennis Jernigan is the Deputy Chief Engineer at the North Carolina Turnpike Authority, manages the Turnpike Highway Operations Program, which includes the development, construction, and operation of the toll facilities. Prior to his current role, Dennis served as the NCDOT Division 5 Construction Engineer. He has over 33 years of experience with DOT, and this is my favorite part. He holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from NC State. Go Pack! All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dennis Jernigan.
Better? Good? Good? All right. Well, first of all, thank you for coming out today. Thank you for inviting me. I love talking about this project. It's a great turnout today. I appreciate you coming out. And this project is, in my 33-year career, I've built about 500 projects for DOT. Every one of them were important for some reason, but this project is transitional. And what I mean by that, it's going to change the way people commute. It's going to change the way people traverse back and forth around across Raleigh through RTP and things of that nature. And you'll see that once I put the map up there, things like that. And so before I forget, because I am at the age where if I don't say it when it comes to mind, I will forget it. So I want to remind you, June 22nd, if you'll put that on your calendar, June 22nd, we are having a community day for celebrating the opening of the phase we're working on, 4540. It's going to be in the Wake Tech area. You'll park in Wake Tech. We're going to have some buses. Your Triangle is partnering with us. They will bus you up to the facility. We're having a 5K. For those of you who like to run, we're having a 10-mile bike ride. For those of you who like to bike. And we're also having some other events there as well, some vendors and maybe some face painting for the kids. We're having some kids events and things like that. And so we'd love to have you out there. It's your chance to kind of get a sneak peek to see it up close and personal, because once we open it, you can't stop and look at it that close anymore. You got to keep moving. All right. So I'm going to whet your appetite a little bit if this works. I do have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off and tell you a little bit about Turnpike. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, just give you a little bit of information about Turnpike itself. We'll go into the right-of-way property acquisition portion, which I'm sure is of interest to everybody in this room. And then we're going to talk about a little bit about the project itself. I'll show you some photos about where we are. Those photos are a month or two old. And so when I tell you when we're going to open and you look at those photos, you say there's no way. They're a couple of months old, so keep that in mind. I will tell you, this is the largest infrastructure project in DOT history. There have been ones that are longer. This is the biggest dollar-wise. This phase one that's under construction right now is $1.3 billion. A $1.3 billion investment in this area. Turnpike Authority, we start with Turnpike Authority. We, first of all, do not go out and look for places to drop a toll road and say, hey, we've got a toll road here, we can charge people money, and that's not the way it works. Local leaders look at what their needs are, they look at what their revenue is, and it's generally just like that, and they look for ways to close the gap. And so if they have a project that they say, maybe we can build this as a toll facility and deliver it that way and deliver it quicker, they ask us to take a look at it. We evaluate that, we do what's called a traffic and revenue study. Is there going to be enough traffic? Is it going to generate enough revenue to pay bills? Because we pay our own maintenance. The tolls don't just go toward paying off the debt, we also pay our own maintenance. We have folks that collect the tolls, we have to pay those. We have customer service representatives, so that when you call and you have questions about your bill, we have lots and lots of people in several different locations to answer those questions. So it takes a lot of money to run a facility like this. But we don't just build a road and sit there. We really look for ways we can innovate to make things better, to make it safer, and I'll give you a couple of quick examples. First of all, I'll show you this because you see the equipment hanging there on the gantries, but you also see this here. This is called cladding. We're all about making things pretty. Because if you're paying to ride on the road, you want it to look good, you want it to ride good, you do not want to sit in traffic. That's why you're paying to ride on the facility. But we do things such as wrong way driver prevention, Incident weekend before last, 4 people died. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing because if you put something out there that deters it, you don't really know it. You only know that something's not working when something like last weekend happens. But we have piloted both advanced technologies and what we'll call low tech, directional pavement marking, things like that. We have a contractor on the street. We're trying to find ways to prevent that, and then we can share it with NCDOT. The reason it's good for us to do it is we have means that DOT doesn't have. We have fiber along our facility, we have power, things like that. So the things we can do, DOT can't. We can figure out things to help them, we share that with them, they make things better. Pavement marking pilots, ways to make pavement marking last longer. We were actually, Triangle Expressway was designated as an autonomous vehicle proving ground back in 2017. How many people knew that? All right, thank you. So we actually applied to USDOT originally for connected and autonomous vehicles. They were going to designate 10 facilities across the nation, and they were going to have all the automobile manufacturers and truck manufacturers test their technology on those 10 facilities. And we were one. And we actually did some testing. We partnered with GM, we partnered with Volvo and others. Now, 2 years after that, they decided to rescind that because the vehicle manufacturer said, we want to test where we want to test, don't tell us where to test. And so they rescinded that. But that was another way we were trying to make things safer, make things better for motorists. So why toll me? When it says build projects faster, it doesn't mean concrete cures faster on our facility or asphalt cools quicker. That's not what that means. We find creative ways to deliver projects quicker. The section that's underway right now, we actually put that under contract in 2018. It wasn't set to go to contract until around 2024, 2025. We're gonna have it open by that time. More travel options. The general statute, the law in North Carolina says we cannot build a toll facility that's the one and only way to get somewhere. There has to be a non-tolled alternative. So we give you another way to get there. It can't be the only way, but it can be another way. Improve travel times. We say, for the folks that travel on our facility, you save an average of 20 minutes depending on your origin and destination. If you look at the number of people that travel on our facility and you multiply that out, what that equates to is every day of every year, we put 3 years back in people's lives. That doesn't mean you live longer, but that means we can't do that. But that means you're spending time with your kids, your grandkids, your spouse, whatever. You're at the soccer game, you're not sitting in traffic. We're giving you a better way to get there. Additional funding source, we have ways we borrow from the federal government, we borrow from bond investors, and then support a growing population. We don't build something to make something develop. We look at where the development is set to occur, and we help meet the demand when that growth occurs. And I'll share an example of what I mean by that. In 1990, the population of North Carolina was 6.7 million people. By 2015, that had increased to 10 million people. NCDOT did a study recently called NC Moves 2050. And what that showed is by 2050, the population is expected to grow by another 40% or 4 million people. 2/3 of that is going to be focused in the Triangle and the Charlotte region. Now, even though you've got additional population growth, and how does DOT make their money? Gas tax, vehicle sales. Study shows that they're going to need 3.5 times the revenue to keep up with the infrastructure demand, which is again another reason why they look to the Turnpike Authority to help them meet that. So if you look at where our program currently is, think about the slide you just saw with the Raleigh and Charlotte region. Look at where most of our facilities are, with the exception of Mid-Currituck Bridge in the northeast corner of the state. So the facilities in green are facilities that are open. The facilities in blue are under construction, and the facilities in white are under development, with the exception of I-77 express lanes here. If you travel in the Charlotte region north, there's 26 miles. It's actually a P3, public-private partnership. It's operated by an outside group. We collect the tolls for the way. So a lot of people think it's a turnpike facility. It's not. We simply collect the tolls, but it is a toll facility in North Carolina. What do your tolls go to pay? Service, safety, innovation. Service, we are all about customer service. Again, I mentioned all the CSRs that we have to answer your calls, to try and make things easier, changing our toll technology. safety, we have dedicated IMAP. Everybody know what IMAP is? Motorist Assistance Patrol. On our facilities, we have dedicated IMAP. We pay them to stay on our facility during the day, during the week. Not on weekend, but during the week. We also have dedicated highway patrol. And so if there's an incident, for safety reasons, making sure people aren't just racing down the facility, we have dedicated during the week highway patrol. Doesn't mean they don't patrol other times, but they're guaranteed to be there during the day. And then innovation, I've talked about some of that. We do have a new app, so you can do all your business with Turnpike Authority on the app. If you haven't downloaded it, my comms director would be very happy if I asked you to download it today. See a spike from today. Now let's talk about right away. Fact or fiction? How many people think this is fact? I'm glad you're taking a picture and not raising your hand. How many people think it's fiction? All right, this is fiction, and let me tell you why. Federal law. It's not our intent to go out and lowball property owners, cheap property owners, things like that. And let me give you an example of what I mean. If I want to go buy a car, and I'm going to give a number that's obviously going to be ridiculous because you can't buy a car for $20,000 these days. But if I want to buy a car and the price is $20,000, and I don't want to pay any more than $18,000 for that car, I'm going to tell the dealer, say, I'm going to offer you $16,000. And I'm going to see if I can get him to come down to 18, maybe even lower. But if I have to pay 18.5 or 19, it's still cheaper than 20. There's advertising. We can't deal with property owners like that. Once we value property, and we at Turnpike, DOT has an option, if it's estimated to be less than a $25,000 value on the tape, they can do what's called a claim report. And the claim report is really based on tax value. We at Turnpike, we don't do that. We do full appraisals on everything. Whatever that appraisal comes out to be, that is what you get offered. If it's $250,000, I can't offer you $200 and hope to negotiate that. That is the value of the taking of this property. And by law, I have to offer you $250,000. Everybody knows appraisals have some subjectivity, especially when it comes to damages. It's kind of easy to calculate property value, and most of the time we kind of agree on comps. But the damages are where you really find some of the difference. This is some of the criteria that we are bound by. The owner can accompany the appraiser. We don't go out there under cover of darkness. We call you and let you know we're coming. You can go along. Just compensation, we have to offer you highest and best use. So you may be living on the corner of two primary roads. That's your residence, but that's a prime spot for a convenience store. We'll evaluate it as a business property. And that really upsets people when you show them an appraisal and it says your home contributes no value, it's zero, but we're offering you X dollars. They want that plus the value of the house. It takes a lot of explanation, and I want to get that. I mentioned fair market value, at least 90 days occupancy. That's another thing that we've heard before, and I had a lady call me when we started this project, and she said, they came out and talked to me Wednesday of last week. Do I have to be out by Monday? No, it doesn't work that way. When we make your offer, we give you a 90-day assurance letter that says for at least 90 days, you don't have to go anywhere. It gives you time to look something else, get your affairs in order. That doesn't mean at the end of 90 days you have to leave. Because if we get to the point, we're going to be negotiating during that time. But if we get to the point where we really need you to go, we have to give you another 30-day letter. So a property owner is guaranteed, first of all, 90 days. That's the 90-day assurance. They have a 30-day letter, a 30-day vacate notice, and we have a policy that is a mandatory 30-day negotiation period. So you're guaranteed as a property owner 6 months before you're going to be asked to leave. And a lot of people work with us, and we don't, and everything works out fine. You do have those that occasionally you have to press the issue some. Worst case scenario, we don't like to get to this point, you might have to get an eviction. On 540 phase 1, we dealt with 650 property owners. Not every one of them was a relocation. We had about 160 relocations, and we only had to start the eviction process on one. And that's the first one I've had to do in 33 years. And we didn't have to go through with it. They were basically just trying to drag the process out, and they left. So, we do like to stay away from that. We cannot coerce. We can't give you an offer and say, you accept my offer or else. You accept it by Friday or else someone will lower it. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's illegal. We may condemn if necessary. We may condemn. Condemn is not another word. A lot of people look at that and they say, "Oh, you condemned on me. I gotta go get an attorney, and this is bad. This is serious. This is legal now." Sometimes I've had conversations with property owners before, and I'd say two things really as a piece of advice. First of all, if you're comfortable negotiating property, listen to the offer. You may like it. I went to an HOA meeting one time, and this lady was not happy because we were taking trees out of her backyard, and she said, "I am a tree hugger. I love trees. Call me what you will, but I am not going to take your offer, and I'm going to sue you." And I said, "Well, technically, you don't have to sue us." But when we made their offer, her husband liked the offer so much that he didn't want the agent to leave before he could sign the paperwork. She said, "I didn't bring the paperwork. I didn't know." It doesn't typically work that way, but what I tell people is, you can get an attorney at any time. There's no, and if any of you in here are attorneys, I'm not trying to take business away from you. But for the property owner's advantage, there's no deadline, if you will. There's no set point where somebody says, "Well, you have to get your attorney by last Friday, so it's too late." Listen to the offer. A lot of times, if you can settle, you'll come out better. You get more, you'll keep more of your money because everybody knows you can get a portion of them. If we do have to condemn, that doesn't mean we can't keep talking. That doesn't mean talks are off, negotiations over. There are sometimes we do what I call a friendly condemnation. I may be working with Paul here and I may say, "Hey, I need access to your property 30 days from now. I don't think we're going to close the gap, but we're making good progress. So I'm going to file the paperwork that gives me legal access to your property." We can continue to negotiate. And we can continue to do that. Once we file that money, and we have to put the appraised value, we have to file it with the clerk of court, register of deeds office. And once we do that, we legally own the property owner can go get their money. Okay, they can draw it out. It takes a judge's order, they go fill out paperwork, and with a judge's order, they can get that money out. And that helps them because if you don't allow them to do that, they can say, "Well, I'm ready to move, I want to move, I want to find a new place, I don't have the money. I don't have the money to do that." They can get the money. Uneconomic remnants, sometimes we cut property off where we landlock property. If we do that, we have to offer to purchase that. We have to value it. First of all, we'll damage it, and we'll put the damages in the appraisal. So we'll pay you the bulk of the value, and then you decide whether you want to keep it or not. We'll offer to buy it, but you don't have to sell it. But if we condemn, we can't condemn on an uneconomic remnant. We can only do that if we have a settlement. All right. Now, one of the biggest questions we get, one of the biggest points of conversation is noise walls. Am I going to get a noise wall? I bet a lot of you hear that. I'm buying a house near a facility. Are they going to build a noise wall? If there's not one there, the answer is no. Okay? If a project's under construction and it's early on, it may be. But if you're selling a property right now that's in the vicinity of Complete 540 that's under construction, and somebody says, "I can see the road, am I going to get a noise wall?" If you can't see one today, the answer is no. Okay? And how do we determine that? I could spend the rest of the afternoon talking to you about that. But I'm going to give you this brief thing. There has to be what's called a date of public knowledge. Once that date of public knowledge is set, it's a function of who gets their plan first. So for us, it's called the record of decision. When we file this environmental document, and ours was in June of 18, it's shown right there, then from that point on, any development plan that occurs after that date is not eligible for noise. Now, one of the things we use, we have a right-of-way tracking tool that we use, and I'm going to blow this up. I mentioned there's 650 parcels on page 1. And so, as you can imagine, when you've got a contractor that's out there looking for places to go to work, I need to know where I can work today. And so we've got this color-coded right-of-way tool developed so that he can look at this, and if he sees green, he can work. If he sees blue, we have a settlement, closings in there. And so that's a way for us to track, and there's other yellows, got an appraisal, and that kind of thing. And so this is a tool that we developed to try and speed things up, help him, and it's a tool that if one of you calls us today and says, "I need to know about a property that I know is affected by your project," I pull this tool up, and I can tell you, I can look at our negotiation diary, I can look at all kinds of project documents, I can look at closing, if it's closed, I can pull up the deed, and give you all kinds of information about it. That's all. Can we wait? Just wait, make sure I get through, because I got a lot of slides. All right, let's talk about construction right quick, and let me give you an idea of where we are. So first of all, why are we building 540? Well, Eastside, as you know, is already built, and this is The piece that's shown in gray here is existing Triangle Expressway. This is the toll piece. Triangle Expressway consists of 15 miles of 540 and 3 miles of NC 885, formerly known as NC 147. We're building the piece now that will connect the end of Triangle Expressway over to I-40, where US 70 ties in, or I-42. And why do we need it? For people who are traveling from points south and west of the triangle to the west, or vice versa, you have to go into downtown Raleigh. You got South Saunders Street, you got Percy Street, Lakewood Road. Basically, Gorman Street, exit 295 up to the split, you have 5 interchanges in 5 miles. We typically don't design, we design a minimum 2 mile between interchanges. Heavy congestion, especially at peak hour. So what 540 is going to do is give people an option to bypass all that. You don't have to go into downtown Raleigh. But if you're not traveling from end to end and you don't need the full bypass, just with phase 1, there's going to be 17 interchanges that you can use all or a portion of every benefit you. So this is the current status. The section in green is the section that's currently open. Part of it is non-tolled. The piece on the north is non-tolled. The piece on the west or the left side here is tolled. The piece in blue, light blue, is the piece that's under construction now. And the last section, the last 10 miles, it says 11 years, actually 10. On the east side, we have it under contract, and we're going to start now. Now, when this is done, I know the math's not going to work out this way because around it, but it's going to be a 69-mile loop. Now, one of the residual benefits of a 69-mile loop, if you have a teenager, and it comes time to get their driver's license, you have to have 70 hours. 69 miles, 70 hours, you do the math, just make sure 10 of those hours are at night, and you'll be set. And that, don't worry, because if your child's 10 or under now, this will be already about the time that they're Alright, I mentioned earlier, largest infrastructure project in DOT history, 1.3 billion, we actually broke it up into 3 pieces. We broke it up into a small, medium, and large. We did that because if we put a $1.3 billion project out on the street, and the construction value on that's about $750 million. A lot of our local contractors can't bid that. They don't have the bonding capacity. And you have to make a decision, a hard decision. I had to go all in or nothing. So do I sharpen my pencil and bid knowing I'm going to be tight on my margins? Or do I go after it and try to make a little money? So we split it into 3 different pieces. And we actually got, all 3 of the projects are joint ventures. No contractor went after it by themselves. And you see the contractors there, 3 different designers. These are the contract amounts. It ends up being about $750 million. Now we'll pause here to mention, when I was talking to you about phase 2, the last 10 miles of closed loop, and I was talking earlier about local transportation leaders trying to find ways to deliver projects for citizens and make things work. $750 million a year for 18 miles. Last year we opened bids on the 2 projects that closed the loop, $760 million. We get 8 miles less roadway for the same amount of money in 5 years difference. So that's a challenge. Just so you know, for those local leaders who are trying to help and deliver things, it's not easy, especially with inflation like it is. Here's what we're building. 6-lane facility, 3 lanes in each direction. We have 12-foot inside and outside shoulders. They're somewhat wider than what you typically see on this type of facility. But one of the things we're doing too is putting in a 70-foot median because we're planning for future growth. And so by doing that, we don't have to go back to those 600 people on either side of the project and say, I need another 15, 20 feet. We'll build it to the median. So we're planning for the future. This project has 52 culverts, 33 bridges. You saw in the video, those stretch about 4 miles. About a quarter of those are over environmental features, streams, wetlands, and the remainder of that are over intersecting roads. This is at the NC55 bypass, and this is looking into the facility. If you're looking at the photo, Triangle Expressway is to your bottom. And so we recently put that loop up there to the right back in service. Go a little ways further east of William Street, for those familiar with the Holly Springs area. One of the things I'll point out, what you see here, a lot of noise walls. We have a lot of noise walls. Our noise walls are made of real brick. They're real brick. We learned a lesson on the existing Triangle Expressway. We used stamped panels. And they look pretty until it comes time to paint those things. And when you have to strip the paint off of them and repaint them, in order to get financing, we have to set a 35-year capital budget. To strip and paint the walls on Triangle Expressway one time was multiple times more than I had in my 35-year capital budget. So we're putting real brick on phase 1 and phase 2, but one of the benefits for that is the folks behind the wall get the same aesthetic benefit as the folks who are traveling the facility. So you also see that pretty brick. And I will tell you, right quick, I'll have to say, a little trivia for you. Doak Campbell Stadium at Florida State. Any Knowles in here? Okay. Boy, brave, good for you. That is, according to Wikipedia, which it must be true because it's on the internet. According to Wikipedia, Doak Campbell Stadium is the second largest continuous brick structure in the world behind the Great Wall of China. With the brick we're putting in on the Triangle Expressway, just phase 1, we can build Doak Campbell Stadium almost 4 times.
Oh, wow.
All right, Holly Springs Road, we're putting in at the Virgin Diamond Interchange. When we first started the project, and I was talking to folks like you, and I was saying, this is nifty, this is a great kind of interchange here. There were 13 of those in the state, and now there's 5 of them under construction in Wake and Johnson County alone. So I think you've probably seen this. There's one at Western and 440, where you temporarily drive on the left side of the road. It's very efficient when you have a high volume left turning movement. So since I see a lot of nods, you're familiar with this, I'll move on, but this is going to be constructed at Holly Springs Road. And this is, we currently have traffic in a traditional pattern. Right side going north, right side going south, and you don't do any crisscross. But you can kind of see how it's developing in here where we have that crisscrossing. Beltline Road. Now this is one of the things that's important. We're planning on opening the main line of 540 within the next 4 months. Okay? We're hoping to get it by the end of July, but if we don't, we should get it into August. Bells Lake Road, we're only opening half that interchange. And the reason being, we're not opening the ramp and loop on the eastbound lane. And the reason being is because our asphalt plan is in there. And if we take our asphalt plan out in time to get it open, then we won't get it open in the next 4 months. And so we agreed to leave that. We also, once we take the asphalt plan out, we've got a pedestrian culvert and a multi-use path that we have to build in there, in addition to building the ramp and loop. So we needed extra time. So for those in that area, that eastbound ramp and loop won't open until November. Okay? All right, this is US 401. It's going to be a traditional diamond interchange with the exception of 2 loops that prevent having to make that left turn movement. So this is Wake Tech over here. I'm moving south. So instead of having to come over here and make a left, I'll just take the loop down, and then we have a loop in this quadrant as well. Again, June 22nd, I hope to see all of you out there because we're going to be having a big event. Interchange at Old Stage Road is going to be a traditional diamond. And one thing that sometimes confuses people, you see this little notch right there. I'll point over here for this one. And when we're designing interchanges, we don't like to have any accesses to that road within 1,000 feet on either side. And sometimes people don't get that. You bought my frontage, I don't have a driveway anymore, but you're not building anything in front of my house. You may be widening the road, but I can still have a driveway. But if we had driveways going right up to the interchange is not going to be very effective. Because you got people coming in and out of the intersection of their driveways, you're going to be hitting each other in T-bone crashes and things like that. And so that's why you see things like that. And if anybody asks you, hey, there's no reason I can't have a driveway. It's because of that control of access to about 1,000 feet out. Old Stage Road, for anybody who's been out there, what you see here, and we're looking into Raleigh, there's a concrete plant here. So half of our project is concrete and half of it is asphalt. So basically from Old McCullers Road, the railroad right there to the east is concrete, and to the west is asphalt. So we have an on-site dedicated asphalt plant at Bells Lake. We have an on-site dedicated concrete plant at Old Stage Road. This one will be open. We will open the full interchange. The ramps won't be affected by the concrete plant here. This is a rendering of the interchange at NC 50. It's going to be all on the west side of 50. 40 is over here in this direction. And this gives you an idea of, if you've been on Triangle Expressway, Monroe Expressway, you've seen the gantry before. We have our vaults over here. We hide it with screen walls. Pretty, again, we want to look pretty, right? So we don't want you to see that big old box, just a box. And that would be unattractive. Our gantries here, you can see that we've got, all of our gantries are up now. When I was talking about earlier, you can see here these connecting trusses. When I first got in the Turnpike, we didn't have those. And so when a toll integrator wanted to hang their equipment, it was really problematic because not everybody has the same solution. So that's one of the ways we added that and made toll integration more effective. Now, another thing I want to point out here, because some people ask, why is the noise wall beside the road here on the shoulder, and why does it look like it's 100 feet away? If the roadway is below existing ground, this is called a cut, because we're cutting down to put the road in. And in that case, we put the wall on the top of the cut, makes it more effective. If the road is higher than natural ground, we put it on the shoulder. Because if we put it at the bottom of the field, the noise would go right over the top, and it would be completely ineffective. So, in case you ever get asked that, there is a test that you need. All right, simulation here, NC50 right here, this goes all the way to 40. We've had two, for those familiar with the area, one of the big environmental issues on this project is Swift Creek, dwarf wedge mussel, endangered species. And so, you see two bridges here, one of them is Swift Creek, one of them is the Swift Creek tributary. Both of these bridges are in excess of 900 feet long. Well, all four are in excess of 900 feet long. And as we get closer, this is the interchange at NC 540. Here, Chuckles. This is the interchange at NC 540, I-40, and NC 42, soon to be known as I-40, or 370, soon to be known as I-42. Now, there is a type of interchange called a turbine. When you have two high-speed, high-volume facilities intersect. If you're familiar with Charlotte, there's one at 85 and 485. We don't have two, we have three. So we had to do something creative. And so we call this a turbine style interchange, because if we didn't, the purist would gig us and say it's not really a turbine. Now, our designers call this a dream catcher, because if you look at it, it's got 5 legs. You want off there? Okay, thank you. But for those of you familiar with this area, this is the old US 70, two old US 70 bridges in here. And again, this is an older picture because right now there's only 2 spans of the second bridge left. One of them is completely gone, and one only has 2 spans left. We had to have an interchange here. When we are designing roadways, we look to a design year. If we design for what's in place today, by the time we got it built, it's not gonna work. So we typically, for this one, our design year is 2040. So we design for the volumes that we project for 2040. In 2040, at this location, we're looking at having, with the convergence of those 3 roads, up to 200,000 vehicles a day right here in this one place. So you had to have an interchange that's going to be effective and a lot of traffic, and it won't slow a lot of people down, because a lot of times speed differential is what causes accidents. So if I'm out on I-40 and I'm driving 35, I'm going to create an accident. I'm not being safe, I'm a hazard. And so if you're creating a situation where people have to slow down to 35, 40, 45 on a facility most people are expecting to go at least 70, you're creating a hazard. Almost all of these movements in this interchange, and I'll go to a rendering here, can be made at 55 miles an hour, with the exception of the loop here and the loop here. And we're planning eventually to take this loop out. We're actually adding a bridge right now that in the future we can potentially take one of those loops out. This interchange right here takes up 481 acres. Wow. When we open phase 2, that balloons to 630 acres. 13 bridges. The distance between that bridge and that bridge is 5/8 of a mile. You have 6 bridges crossing I-40 itself. We have 37 acres of pavement right here in this one area. Now, for those who say that's a lot of wasted green space, let me tell you what we're doing. We're looking at one of 2 things. We're looking at potentially putting a solar array in here and putting some power back in the grid, but we can't evaluate that until the contractor gets through, because he's taking a lot of dirt out. So we have to have the final contour so we can run it through the model. And one of the second things we're doing, we've been working with Wake County commissioners to reforest in the right of way. We recently did that on 540 and NC 54. That was our pilot interchange. If anybody's been up there, they planted 1,600 trees in that one interchange. So we do have plans for this to try and make this useful space and not just waste, if you will, 600 acres. This is the bottom piece of that. One of the other things that I'm particularly proud of, when you got a high-speed, high-volume facility, you don't want people walking on the shoulder, you don't want bikes riding when you're driving at 70 miles an hour. We got, between phase 1 and phase 2, we've got 35 locations where we've got multi-use paths, pedestrian culverts, lengthened bridges for multi-use paths, sidewalks, bike lanes, all those things factored into the project. A couple of unique things. DBEs are disadvantaged business enterprise. I used to think that Turnpike was probably the world leader in acronyms until I heard Jay earlier, and I thought, you guys give it a run too. I mean, just trying to make some notes so I can learn English in here. All right, so DBEs are disadvantaged business enterprise. They're owned by minorities, handicapped, female-owned businesses, and that kind of thing. Over $80 million of that 760 went to, and that's a minimum. Some of it's not tracked. That is just what we track because we have minimum goals they have to meet. We really had to be having house. Pollinators, everybody knows pollinators are in decline. We need pollinators. If we don't have pollinators, we don't have food. So right away, Agent calls me one day and he says, hey, we got a house. When you get ready to tear it down, just know there's a beehive in the wall. Wow. They made a movie of that in the 70s. It's called Indigo Heart. Okay? I don't know that I can live in that house. But instead of just tearing that thing down and sending it to the landfill, we called a beekeeper. He and his wife came out. And they were thrilled to take that hive and to preserve it and not just kill all those bees. So we're sensitive to the environment. North Carolina Native Plant Society, anybody here familiar with that? They look for threatening, I see some nods. They look for threatening endangered plants. So when you're going to go out and you're going to clear an area, they have volunteers that come in on Saturdays and they go and look for plants that are threatened and endangered, and they transplant those to save those. We had an archaeological site on this project. This is very exciting. We unearthed artifacts, and there's a couple pictures I'll show you in just a second. And I'm going to try and hurry because I know I'm short on time, but I'm so passionate about this project. There's so many great things about it. We unearthed over 16,000 artifacts from two different periods, from 6,000 years ago and 10,000 years ago. These are being processed by a consultant. They will go to the History Museum, so you can see those. We do occasionally set up exhibits where people can come by. You can see them, you can pick them up, you can hold them in your hands. TVD ran a story. There was a piece of jewelry that they highlighted that where they anticipated that a lady at some point in time had worn that around her neck or forged it. Inlay pavement markings, we're going to do that out here. It's a way to preserve our pavement markings so the snow plow doesn't get them, and it makes them longer. It makes them last longer. I mentioned the Native Plant Society. If you're interested in that, there's their website. They partner with us out here. These are a couple of the artifacts. You see some pottery shards here, and then some points, and lots of points. We actually, one of my favorite things, they found a hearth. They found a hearth out there as a rectangular piece of stone. It had scratch marks on it, and it still had burn marks on it, where you could tell they had cooked food in the past. It's pretty awesome. Now, we don't always tear down every house. We like to say this gives new meaning to the term mobile home. But sometimes, if there's enough time, a property owner can buy the house back. And let me go ahead and say this: not everybody can buy the house. So if you come up and say, "Hey, my neighbor sold that house to you. They moved out. I'd like to come in and buy it," it doesn't work that way. We sell back to the original owner, or we have to put it up for sale. I'm gonna go ahead and say that because if I don't, I'll get 100 calls after this. People laugh because I've already gotten calls about it. But if we can work it out, sometimes they purchase the house back. They just have to move it. They have to put up a bond. They have to move it. And so we don't have to necessarily tear down all the houses. In this particular case, it would have been nice if he had told us this was going to happen, because we came in on Saturday to go to work and he had roadblock. Alright, so phase 2, that is the 10 miles that's going to complete the loop. Again, I mentioned earlier, $1.2 billion. So we basically got a $2.5 billion investment in this area. 2 projects for the same reason that I mentioned earlier. These are the interchanges down here. You can see here from 1 up to 13 additional interchanges that are going to be added with these 2 projects. We work with local municipalities to decide that. Some are obvious. US 401, US 70, NC 50 are obvious. But as far as Bells Lake, Holly Springs Road, local municipalities told us what their gateways were. And not only did we build the interchanges there, we accommodated for future widening. So if you're out on East William Street, you're on Lake Wheeler Road, and you drive under 540, and you say, got a lot of wasted space under here. That's because eventually they're going to widen that road and prevent them from having to come back in and rebuild 2 new bridges. We are all about communication, robust public information campaign. We've already started on February 13th. We had a meeting out on East Garner Road. We had, from the public hearing, we had decided to relocate East Garner Road. It resulted in additional relocations. And as opposed to those property owners finding out when somebody knocked on their door and said, "Oh, by the way, you didn't expect to move, but now you need to get out," it wouldn't be quite that way. But we said we were going to have a public meeting, invite those people out, let them know so they can start planning now. That's the way we like to treat people, like we want them to be treated. As far as community outreach, We started measuring this once COVID started. I was already going out and meeting with people because I knew we were accelerating this project. I was meeting one-on-one in people's kitchens, in the front yards, HOA meetings, local town councils, whoever wanted to hear about it. And then if anybody else wants to hear, let me know, because we love to go out and talk to people, because if we don't do it that way, you know the game. If I tell her something, by the time it gets over there, everybody puts their slant on it, it's not gonna be the same message. I'm gonna tell you fact, I may not like it, but I'm telling you straight out what the situation is. Since COVID, we've had over 40 public meetings, over 1,200 participants. We sometimes send out postcards depending on what our impacts are gonna be, if we got road closures, lane closures, things of that nature. Depending, it just fits the circumstance. Sometimes if it's a weekend closure, it doesn't want a postcard. So we'll do, we don't have our press releases out here, but we use Nextdoor a lot. So you see here, since COVID, 25 Nextdoor posts, 15,000 postcards. We have a dedicated email address, we have a dedicated hotline, we have a consultant who staffs that. So you can call at any point in time. And I will say, and I thank Paul for reminding me of this. One of the services we provide for you as realtors, we do this for homeowners as well. If you're looking at a property, you've got a client either buying or selling, and you want to know the proximity to the project, send us an email, call that 800 number, say here's the address, I want to see what the proximity is to the project. We will send you a map. We will highlight that property and tell you about how far it is from the project. If it's more than a mile, we won't send you a map. Some people call us and they say, well, I got a house down in Benson, and I want to know how close it is. We're not going to send you a map. Because the highlight is going to be so small you won't see it. So that is a service we provide. Happy to provide that for you. Our email address is right here. Our website is right here. We do have a dedicated website as well. Our 800 number is here. And some of the services we have on our website, again, one of the things that people like to know, am I going to have a noise wall? As soon as we know whether or not you have a noise wall, first of all, we put in areas while they're being studied. And believe it or not, you get to vote on a noise wall. Not everybody wants one. Some people think they're ugly, and they vote against it. It's simple majority. If the community wants it, it's got to be a simple majority. I will tell you, nobody out here turned them down. It's because we make them pretty and great. But we put this out there so people can look in really easily and find out whether this is going to be a noise wall. We have an interactive construction map. You click on those drums. If you're interested in a particular area, you click on those drums, you get a pop-up box on the left that tells you what the activity is, when it started, and how long it's going to last. And then on the right side, and this is something that this group is interested in as well, it's an interactive map. It uses Wake GIS as a base. And so they're color-coded by municipality. That's why you see all the colors. And so you can look at a property on that map. You can measure the distance to the right-of-way. It also has a differentiation whether it's controlled access right-of-way or whether it's non-controlled access right-of-way. So you can get a lot of information from that map right there. If you want that, go to the Complete 540 webpage. On the right side, you'll see Project Maps. Click on Project Maps. Second choice down. We also have Google Earth. For those who favor Google Earth, it's the one just below. And it has a lot of that same capability. Okay. I mentioned our email address, our 800 number. We are on Twitter. I'm not, but marketing folks are. And so you can, if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's right there. And I think now